I would be willing to bet, though, more than half of his bucks are.
Oh, I bet. He likes to hunt mountain bucks, and that's, probably national forest and shit like that.
Yeah.
Kick there. There you go. Oh, boy. Yeah. That's wild, right? God, I can't tell you, like, my, that business venture I was talking to you about.
Yeah.
The day that happened, I'm like, okay, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And before I was like, I don't know if I'm doing it.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm doing it.
I don't know if I'm doing it. This scares me.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the dance? What's the dance that he does? You're doing it better than me. Yeah.
Now you see a whole bunch of
You got
football players scoring touchdowns. That's their new touchdown dance.
That's their new touchdown dance.
It's like your universal, hey, I support Trump, but maybe not everybody knows what I'm doing.
Yeah. I can do it in a nice way without being politically polarizing. Tip to tip.
Touch tips. A little bit of mango passion.
Yeah, we got a huge day for the program here. We got new bows dropping like it's hot.
Dropping like it's hot.
We got a new president-elect.
We do.
We have...
Got the big D back. That big D energy.
Yeah. Crazy.
Gosh, that was wild.
What do you want to talk about first?
Well, I don't know. I think that's probably the most significant thing that happened, obviously,
it's
since
huge
then. So we should probably talk about that.
Yeah,
we actually had the red wave that they were talking about in 22 actually happened in 24. And I think the biggest thing that shocked me or reaffirmed some concerns that we were trying to be told weren't really concerns is how many less people voted. Was it 20 million less people voted in this country? That seems hard to believe. Or we should say 20 plus more million people voted last time around than voted any other time.
But think about this. If Trump gets elected in 2020, he goes in with a blue Senate and blue House, right?
No, we had they did have blue, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it was blue and blue.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was red and blue, but it was at best split. But now he goes in 2024, 25, and it'll be red and red.
Well, yeah, but the whole point of 20 million votes is that's 20 million votes, not just for the president.
Oh,
that's
right.
for the president, for your legislatures, for your governors. Like, where'd those 20 million votes go?
Yeah. I agree, but think about how much more he can get done with being all red. Yeah. So, I mean, he might have fought for 4 years to implement some things. And it feels like we're at a point at which we need some real change, in my opinion.
Oh, man.
There's a lot of people who have a lot of power, and the balance doesn't seem very fair.
Well, and the people that he's appointing to things.
That's what I'm most excited about. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Most excited about J.D. Vance. I think he's the first vice president that's been significant to me. I heard him talk. I think he's really reasonable. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. And if he were to be president, I think he could do a great job.
Yeah, and it's the first time I've actually seen somebody running for anything that really comes off as authentic.
Yeah.
Like they're not trying to pretend to be somebody, or they're not trying to
he
pander
wasn't
to another
dancing,
group.
circles around answers and stuff.
Nope, just straight answers, and he's got the right answers, and he'll go on a podcast and swear and talk about having a good time and whatnot, like a normal human being would.
Yeah.
Yet he's the vice president of the United States.
Like he's not a cyborg.
Wild. Yes, like he's authentically him. And he's young.
Did you see the statistic? Something like 97% of Washington, D.C. voted blue.
Yeah.
Does that tell you something?
Yeah, that means that's their that's the machine.
Yeah.
That's the machine at work, wanting the machine to continue working.
And did you see the map of the counties?
Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
A very, very, very small percentage of this country is base voted blue.
County by county.
County by county.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's blue counties, but there's a very small percentage of them. They just have high population densities. But even New York, it was a lower amount of Democratic voting than it ever has been. I think their little charade of prosecuting Donald Trump turned a lot of their own public against him. Even the majority of people that, if you're paying attention to it at all and you're following it at all, not just what they would say on the news, but going and digging the details of what's going on, it was a complete sham. They were changing the laws to be able to try to prosecute him, and then turning around and saying, but we won't do this to anybody else. It's just him. And we'll change him back when it's done. Like, what is that? So I could see where a lot of people that lived in New York that paid attention to what their state was doing from a legal precedent would be like, this is ridiculous. You need to get out.
Yeah. So as we're doing this, the announcement has been recent that formally Elon and Vivek are going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, aka Dogecoin.
The Dogecoin.
AKA, I wish I bought a bunch of that stuff 5 years ago now.
Yeah, freaking Bitcoin's going through the roof.
It's going through the roof, yeah.
It's going through the roof like crazy. Brandon was super excited about that.
Yeah, I actually wanted to text him and see if he's still holding it, which that means he is. Yeah.
He is, and he's very happy.
Yeah.
Every day he was like, dude, it's an 87 today.
Brandon
my God.
Yeah, Brandon and I have had some conversations about it. I think both of us just kind of had a base level understanding of what it was, and we talked about, could it be a good buy or whatever.
Yeah.
And right now it really looks that way. And one friend who has always been, it's an asset class that's too risky, is our friend Jeff, the financial advisor. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Jeff, there's a utility. Maybe it's not as currency. I think the utility is mostly in the ability to record transactions. And that's what makes it valuable. And it's a utility that can be inflated, which makes it, to me, even more interesting. I'm not going to walk into a shop and pay for things in Bitcoin. Like, that's not what it's going to happen. But it creates a middle ground, a medium for inflation. So if the amount of dollars change or whatever, this cannot be inflated, which I think is very interesting to me.
It's something outside of gold and silver.
Yeah.
Right? Because those were always your stable things. It's like, okay, you got gold and silver, and no matter what the economy does, those tangible things are still going to have a value based off of what they're really worth as opposed to what a dollar's worth or something like that. Yeah. And because a government can't manipulate Bitcoin, it's the same thing. It's actually like a tangible dollar that won't fluctuate based off of what is going on with a given economy.
It's a medium, yeah.
It's a fair medium, so it's smart.
Yeah,
and it's not. The government has no say in it.
Yeah, and it's hard to understand how something digital could have value. But to me, it's just more of a forward thought. It's like, why does gold have value? Gold has value because there's a limited resource and we put value on it.
Correct.
Right? So we could put value on whatever we want. Stanley Cups, energy drinks. It's all values perception and supply and demand. Yeah, foot picks. Speaking of, the most recent thing we've been getting flamed for is people say that you have not been showing your feet. So
here you go, ladies. Here you go, boys and girls. They're front and center right now.
So there's no winning. I mean, you show your feet, you get flamed. You don't show your feet, you get flamed. Yeah.
Just try to make sure they don't block my face. There you go.
I'm excited about, for the first time, like, I'm very optimistic about what the next few years could look like, because it sounds like some things could shake up in a positive way.
Heck yeah, for sure. So, it's going to be epic. I mean, if we go through this whole thing, right? Hey, thanks for watching. If you have time, why don't you subscribe, leave us a review. It helps us more than you know. And if you're interested in archery stuff, head on over to podiumarchery.com for all those archery needs. $99 and up is free shipping. And coupon code TimC will save you a little money. Let's get back to the pod. What we just had happen gives me more hope and more faith in our future than I have ever had. And if it falls on its freaking face, I'm done. I'm just done. I'm not voting anymore. Because like you're never going to have a better chance to change the things that we've all been talking about. And like the Rogans of the world or whatnot that are pointing out, like, this is messed up. This is wrong. Our food system's terrible. Our medical system's terrible. They're all based off of making money and trying to keep you sick and ill and blah, 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 blah. Right? Trying to fund the medical industry and the food industry and the banking industry. Like, everything's geared towards that. And the education system isn't really teaching people how to be intelligent. It's teaching them how to be a obedient servant. Like it.
Yeah. Which to me, I didn't have a very good beat on, but the more conversations I had with either my clients or people around me, the more I realized it was a growing problem. Because like, I went to school 20 years ago in a tiny logging town in high school, right? You could imagine what that would be like. And then I went to college 15 years ago in a small-sized state school surrounded by farmers and shit. Like, the town wasn't that big. So school to me felt like school should have felt. Like, we partied, we got an education. I felt like got a pretty good education. But I've just continued to hear stories about like how much indoctrinating is going on at schools as far as thought processes. Like, not teaching people to be free thinkers, but doing the opposite and that kind of thing. And that's pretty scary. So I guess there's a real need for educational reform, and that's going to happen.
Super psyched, man. Like I said, I've never been more hopeful, and I will completely give up if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, like you've had kids in school recently go through both the high school and the college process. Did you feel like?
Well, it was
what
a
was your
smaller
take on
state school.
how their education?
So at least there's a little better chance of that. But yeah, some of the stuff, like my older daughter came home and tried to start arguing, and I'm like, oh, this is what they're talking about. They're trying to teach you this crap as fact. I'm like, oh, wow. Wow. Okay. So and hopefully they're, smart enough to kind of wade through it and ignore it. But a lot of that stuff comes from federal funding too. Like if you're taking federal funding, the Board of Education is determining things you have to teach. That you don't get the funding from this if you don't teach it. It comes with an attachment, and they keep shifting and shifting and shifting that. So I hope they just destroy it, because then that money goes back to the schools. Like the money that's used for running the Federal Board of Education would just go back to the school systems, and then they'd have more money without the federal government trying to tell them what you have to teach.
Yeah. Not to get too sidetracked on this, one thing I don't fully understand, and maybe you have a theory for it, is some of these big schools have huge endowments. Like, what is that money for?
It's supposed to make the school better, but it's also, my guess is to shift the school's policies the way that those people want. No different than donations.
Like the donations are like...
Donations come at a cost, no different than I'm donating to your presidential fund, and I expect you to pick up the phone when I call when legislation's coming through that I don't want. So I'm assuming it's the same thing. And who knows where that's coming from? That could be coming from other countries. I don't know. I don't follow it. But anyway, we should probably get off politics to a degree because, some people get sensitive about it. But that is the most significant thing that has happened here since the last one that we recorded. So it's a good thing to go off of. And I'm super optimistic. And I know there's some people that aren't going to really be happy about that outcome. And I feel for you because I was really unhappy about the last outcome. So I know how you feel. But, it'll work its way out.
Yeah. I mean, I think whether unhappy or happy, what we could do for the next year or two is go into it with an open mind, voice your opinion if you have an opinion, and see what happens, and track it not with emotion but with what's actually happening with things that you can track around.
Well, if there's one thing let's say you're on the other side of this election, right? If there's one thing that you can really positively take away from this, the number one guy to try to run for president as a Democrat is in the cabinet. So the guy, like if they actually caucused and Biden actually had to debate RFK, he probably would have lost then. And he probably would have been running for a Democrat as president if they wouldn't have forced him out like they did Bernie when Bernie nominated. But that guy is being put in a position to make real change in this administration. So unless you're just blue no matter who in your head, you have to be somewhat happy about some of the things that are actually happening. People are being put in positions of power that aren't from the government, that are from private sector or things of that nature. Like there's some really cool stuff that's going on if you even paid attention to it at all. I mean, if you've lost, you're probably not, and you're probably just mad. But in my lifetime, I've never seen somebody appointing people to positions of power that are so far out of the normal place, which is exciting because then they're not necessarily indoctrinated, but they aren't taking money to get to their position of power from an interest group. So the people that are sitting there making those decisions aren't beholden to anybody. So they can actually go in and make the decisions that they think is best for whatever they're governing, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Like I'm so excited it's not even funny. I feel really great about our future right now.
Yeah, something to me feels really warm and fuzzy about an RFK dropping out of the election, endorsing Trump, and then also seeing that reward of being able to be a part of the government and have an influence on things that happen that are really important. Like, I don't think he's been formally appointed yet to something, has he?
RFK? No, I thought he.
I don't think.
I know he said that he was going to let him go wild on the. What was the?
I don't think he's been formally appointed at this point.
For medical? What's the position? There's a position in the cabinet that hasn't been appointed yet, and I would only assume that that's doing it. Like every person that he's rumored was going to have this position has been given these positions now that they've announced Elon and Vivek in that, which you have to be excited about a guy who bought a company for $40 billion and fired 85, 90% of everybody who works there, and the company's still running great, that being put into a position of government efficiency. Like, you have to be excited about that. I don't know how you couldn't. It's like, oh, so I think everybody feels like there's a ton of money wasted in government. Like, whether you vote blue or you vote red, you probably feel like there's a whole bunch of money wasted. And now you're taking a guy who figured out how to get as much waste out of a business as possible and putting him in charge of getting rid of waste in government. Like, that is awesome. Get excited.
It's pretty awesome.
Moving on.
It's pretty awesome.
I could talk about that for an hour and people would be pissed.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. That's all right. Well, bring it in. Drop it like it's hot. You got some new
You want
bows
to talk about that
here.
first, or we want to talk about the hunting trip?
Boats and hose.
Bows and hose?
Bows and boats.
Bows and hose.
Let's
Where's
bring
the
the bows
hose?
in.
All right. It's
Out there.
dun, dun, dun. It's Hoyt lunchtime, peoples.
Bow reveal time.
And Tim is flying a big bummer flag at the moment, and I'm going to explain to him why he shouldn't be all bummed out. There's an RX-9. Not going to lie, I wasn't super psyched at first either until I started testing them. And this is a Alpha. This is one thing I hate. Alpha AX-232. Like, can we just call it a name and not call it like R2D2 and C3PO?
Call it something cool like the Deer Slasher.
Yeah, now you're talking. Give me something awesome. But
use like follow like a
it's
metal
really like
band or something.
it does appear like a lot of brands hate naming their products. They like hate giving it a name because they're always like this unoriginal thing that's like let's call it number 2 or number 3 or number 4.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, give it a different name.
Names actually matter. Like, having a cool name is people will be more likely to buy it if it's got a cool name. But I guess if your name is indiscreet, I mean, I guess then the name isn't
You're
part
not
of
wrong.
it. But yeah. If it was called like the Jack Slasher 5000 or something, I mean, you'd have some people showing up. You know?
So do you want me to break down bow by bow, or do you want me to give you the changes that happen to all the bows?
Yeah, let's do the changes
Okay,
that
so here's
happen
what
to all
you're
the
probably
bows.
not realizing. They shorten the limbs a bunch. That's a big deal.
Okay.
Shorter, more parallel, more bend in the limb. Right? So they shortened the limbs, redesigned the limb pockets, and made a quite more aggressive cam. They also changed the module system. So Hoyt in the past would have 2 different modules to cover their 5 inches or 6 inches of draw length adjustability. And now their modules cover 1 inch only. So the cam base covers 5 inches of range, but each individual module covers 1. 1/4 inch increments and 3 different let-offs in one module.
Do you know at this point what those modules are going to cost?
I don't know. I ordered them, but I frequently order stuff and have no idea what it costs. Because that's the only way you're going to get it early and get a bunch of it is if you just go, yep, sure, don't care, send it.
Yeah.
Just give me a bunch, don't care. So the cool thing about that is that's how they're making the bow faster. So one of the things that people overlook about Matthews and their module system is that they actually redesign each individual module length for an efficiency curve. When a bow manufacturer makes a pivoting module that covers like 5-6 inches, they're making that efficiency curve for 1 length. And then they rotate the module to change the length of it. And in those scenarios, you usually lose speed faster. So instead of losing like 8-9 foot a second per inch, you're losing like 12 to 15 foot a second. Right? So when you get that thing down to 26 inches, it's a dog. It's really slow. So they made each module for each inch and then gave you 1/4 inch increments within that and 3 let-off increments within that. And they bows are significantly faster. In fact, the one that you're holding right there was the last one I tested. They're all out on the YouTube channel, by the way. You can go watch the reviews for all 4 of these bows. But the RX-9 was the last one I tested, and it was the fastest bow I've tested this year. And that is not normally a phrase you say with Hoyt. Normally there's a really excessively aggressive bow or that sort of thing. Like, it was only, I have to go back and look at the numbers. It was only 3 feet slower than the Core SR last year, which the Core SR was way faster than anything else, and it was really hard to pull. Like, it was hard.
It was a hard
This does
draw
not feel
cycle.
like that. Yes, it's harder. Like, if you're used to shooting a Hoyt, if you have an RX-7 or an RX-8 or an Alpha Elite, Alpha X, sorry. If you have an Alpha X or a VTM, one of those, this bow is going to feel harder to pull. It absolutely is. In the front end, but not in the back end. Like, the back end, it's still nice and smooth into the pocket. It's a great pulling bow. And I think they added the aggression where you'd want to add the aggression to make the bow go faster. So I'm super impressed with that. And on their aluminum bows, I thought they skeletonized the crap out of the bows last year. They stepped it up. Like they're getting a lot closer to the weight of a Matthews, which is shocking with how much wider the riser has to be to make their design. They've done a really good job. Now looking at it, I really don't know where metal's coming out of now. Like I don't know how you're going to make the bow lighter. When you look at them, there's like way more cuts in here. Like you look at where's a chunk of metal where you could drill a hole through it, right? That isn't functionally holding something or being used as something. And I don't know where there is any. It does look like they used a shorter limb bolt this year than last year, so that would be some gain. But they've really skeletonized this. I think you could probably make it a little lighter. Like if these cuts went all the way through to the back end in here and through there and through in there, there's probably a tiny little bit more you can get out of here. But they're only like 0.2 of a pound heavier now, which that's pretty darn impressive. Like it's not as noticeable. When you picked them up last year, you could tell a little more. They're a little heavier. So super, super impressive. That's assuming that Matthews is the same this year. We haven't seen those yet. Those are next week's podcast. Tune back in. It'll be ready for you. So, but yeah, super, super impressive what they've done. And they completely changed the cam to where it's running a yoke from left and right. So it's a lateral transfer system like the PSEs are and like the Dartons are and like Matthews are. Like it comes off of either side of the cam instead of the individual cable on each side. And that helps with cam alignment. So your wheeling is usually less significant. So that's a big deal to me for what it's worth.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I'm not disappointed. I know there are years when things are just going to move to like the next model or the next iteration. And to me, that's what this feels like. Because all the things we're talking about have been done.
Okay, but hold on.
It's not
Time
new
out there a little
to.
second there, home slice.
Okay.
So you're looking at a bow that is a new riser, a new limb, a new limb pocket, and a new cam 2 years in a row. Are you complaining? Mm-hmm. Shut your whore mouth.
No, I'm not complaining.
Now, from the RX series, the risers are identical.
But from looking across the industry, okay, we're talking about putting on new modules to make it efficient.
From one company. Only one company does that.
Yeah, from an industry leader. And you've kind of been like, well, Hoyt's typically not the one to lead the way. They put a lot of time into R&D. It might come out a little slower. And I was like, man, this year I just felt like we're going to see something different. Hoyt signed John. We're going to see something that's like, wow, that's new to archery. And
we haven't seen something from Hoyt that's new to archery since the carbon bow came out.
So what I'm saying is you were right in that aspect. Yeah. Josh was right.
Does it get old?
Now, is it is it a really solid bow and a really solid platform? Yeah, it probably is. And I mean, I shot the VTM 34 2 years ago and I loved it. It's in my top couple bows all time. It was a great combination of speed and feel, and it shot well. So no doubt, it's American-made product, like a lot of bows are, and it can be really cool. Yeah. So that's kind of where my head was at. Is I was thinking Hoyt's going to do something that's like, wow, we haven't seen that before, and we've seen it across the industry, not particularly with Hoyt. So yeah, I think it's a better iteration of what they're doing for sure. And I did draw and shoot each bow down at the shop before I came up here because I wanted to give reference to.
It's like you've gone for a while.
Yeah, I wanted to shoot them, and then the boys wanted to give me their opinions and stuff like that.
Everybody's got one.
And yeah, and so to be fair, I shot one at 30 inches and one at 28 inches. I shot the carbon bow at 30 and the aluminum bow at 28, and those felt significantly different. To be fair, I should have shot them at 29, but the carbon bow I shot at 30, the one you're describing, is stiff. Yeah, she's stiff.
Well, you're pulling it farther, so it's harder on your shoulder. So that's a unfortunate way to compare the two. You got to set them in the same. You get any kind of real reading out of it.
Yeah, but I could feel in the front end there's more going on there for a 70-pound bow.
Yep, for sure. It is not the easiest pulling bow.
It's stiffer. Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't have a dump either.
On Viagra.
Yeah. It doesn't have a dump, which is the
like
thing
the back end. So if you're going to load a bow up, put it in the front. Don't put it in the back. You put it in the back, and you get to that back wall position where you're about to break over, and you're scared because you're like, I'm going to hit this back wall, and it's going to go back forward.
Exactly.
I can't relax into it. So what they did, if I was designing a bow and trying to make it efficient, I would have designed a draw force curve like they did it. make it harder in the front, which Matthews does that too. They generally make it harder in the front,
Yes,
and weaker in the tail end. So it's
and maybe
easy,
slightly shallower
in the back end. Sure, it's easier to get in and out of it. So it's not like when you relax and sit there, it doesn't want to like fly forward on you. And like if it's really aggressive when it flies forward on you, you're not catching it. It's going all the way down, and then you're pulling it all the way back again, which is brutal. Like that's where you hurt your shoulder.
Yeah, so like you were talking about last year's speed bow, that bow was really difficult to draw. In recent years,
if I handed you that bow and this bow and you shot them side by side, you'd swear there was at least 10 feet difference. And it's only
That's
3.
what I'm saying.
So it's impressive.
That's what I'm
like
saying.
what they've done. Like I'm willing to bet if you care about speed, there's a much greater chance you're buying a Hoyt this year because they are faster. But at the same time, are you actually testing them, or are you just going off of my videos to determine how fast they are? But the one thing I did notice too when I tested them for different lengths, they're losing more speed per inch than most of the other bows I tested, which is contradictory to the designing each module thing. It's not supposed to do that.
So there's more speed
atrophy. Yeah. So if you have a shorter draw length, you might not actually ideally like it. But they did also come out with 2 different versions of the shorter bow with an SD or a short draw. So it's supposed to be performance cam, and I haven't had one of those yet. So I don't know what they're at. I will do a short draw length bow video this year.
Yeah.
Since there's a couple coming out. I haven't seen the other ones yet, so I don't know. But Hoyt definitely released a short draw specific bow this year, or short draw specific option. And rumor mill is Matthews is releasing a short draw specific option.
Can you speak to that really quick as just what that means as far as cam efficiency? Because I think sometimes what a 26-inch draw person walks into the shop and they shoot the same bow as a 30-inch draw person, and they're talking to each other and they're like, this is how it felt, but it's going to feel dramatically different, right? Or in some cases it can feel dramatically different.
For sure. It's so the biggest part with like short draw, long draw bows, they're designing them to be efficient in those sizes. So when you look at modern stuff today, right, almost every bow that's built is kind of designed to be shot at 29 or 30 inches, and they're targeting that to get the most efficiency out of the cam, so they're designing everything around that premise. Whereas a short draw length bow is being designed around like 27 inches or something like that, where it's going to fit someone that's shorter or a female or that sort of thing on the intent of gaining greater efficiency out of it. As is a long draw length bow, they're building it around the premise that we're trying to fit somebody with a long draw length here, so we're trying to get the most efficiency out of those things. And when you just recycle the same cam or recycle the same design for it, doesn't necessarily work. Whereas if you keep shortening things down enough in the riser and the limb and squat everything forward and reduce the brace height and whatnot, you're taking the same efficiency that like a 29-inch cam has, and now you're making it 428 or you're making it 427 by tweaking everything else out. So that's the beauty of redesigning these things, as opposed to making a cam that covers like 8 or 9 inches, as opposed to let's redesign the riser, redesign the limb, redesign the positionings of things to be more efficient at those sizes.
Yeah. My favorite thing currently about a Hoyt is the nipple of destiny. I think that's great, particularly when you have a bipod on your bow. I can't describe how nice it is to have a bow that you can just walk around and set down.
You're not wrong.
You know, that's a really nice thing to be able to do. You're talking to your friends, you can set it down. You're not going to go lean it up on a tree, lean it up on a spot where it could get bumped. It can always get bumped, but yeah, it's nice to be able to do that. So their integrated features are nice. Picatinny out front. I hope that becomes the universal mount that we see in the next couple of years. It just seems like a no-brainer to me. Yeah, and they're sharp-looking bows for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely something really nice about the limb leg or bow bipod option, and I like the fact that it stays on the bow. Like the engaged limb legs is where that really came from originally, right? But that you can leave it on the bow, but also in order to shut it to where it's out of your way, you got to take it off.
It's more like a true bipod.
The ghost sticks is like a bipod on your rifle. It stays on the bow and it gets out of your way pretty much completely, which is a really cool thing. And I'd love to see almost every bow incorporate something like that, because I don't think they have a patent or anything on that kind of deal.
Speaking of that, I wonder if we're going to see innovation from Matthews Accessories this year, because Hoyt, Matthews had the what do you call it again? The tripod.
Matthews is called limb leg. Yeah, the engaged limb legs. And then they call it the
bipod
ghost stick
version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
now
maybe what's the next
Elite's
iteration of that
making
product?
a bipod on theirs, and they put Picatinny rails on their limb pocket, which was smart. Because now you got a universal attachment system, right? Which is
universal
cool.
attachment system, baby.
It's nice to see that.
If it's good enough for a scope on a ultra accurate rifle, it's good enough for a bow. You know
Well, it's why not just recycle a technology that's already being used that's universally considered the best method?
It's good.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. We don't have to fight
Hoyt
that
is
one.
actually the only one that incorporated something into their cam to where when you set your cam on the ground, you're not actually setting the string groove on the cam on the ground. You're touching a piece of the cam that's got a little rubber grommet on it. It's a really smart idea.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised that other people didn't do that unless they patented that idea. They probably did.
Yeah. One thing I want to speak to is the stiff draw cycle. If you're a person who might go shoot it for the first time in a shop and maybe it feels heavier than what you're used to at the same poundage, that wouldn't discourage me from buying that bow. Well, it might discourage me from buying that bow is if it had a massive rollover dump
100%.
or some weird shit. But it rolls over smooth. It feels smooth. It's a little front loaded for sure. But yeah, that wouldn't discourage me from buying. If I was comparing bows, I wouldn't be like, oh, let's rule that one out because it's stiffer in the front. Your trade-off is speed, which is nice. But ultimately, even if you were to take that 70-pound bow, turn it down to 60 pounds or 62 pounds, shoot it for a month, turn it up to 66 pounds, shoot it for a month, turn it up to 70 pounds. When you got to 70 pounds, you'd be like, you wouldn't know any
the way
different.
they've set theirs up, to be honest with you, I've tested and reviewed 2 bows at a time. So 2 of them got here before I left to go on my trip, and 2 of them got here right when I got back. So between a bow test, I probably shoot it 15, 18 arrows, and by the time I got done with the second one, it did not feel hard at all. So if you're shooting that bow or trying that bow out, and your brain's going, God, this just feels really stiff, ask if you can shoot it like 30 or 40 times. I'm willing to bet you by the time you get past 30, it does not feel hard anymore. It's not that different. It's just noticeable if you're used to the other one.
Yeah. It's one of those things you're going to dial in. I think I've heard enough reverb back to us that sometimes when we talk about being able to tune a bow at home, we speak about it like, this bow has tuning features, you can tune it at home. And that's nice for the people that want to do that. But also, when it comes to tuning features, and we're going to talk about this bow's tuning features, I mean, think about being a guy in a shop and having the ability to get out the Allen wrench and move the wheels. Like, that's also saving them time. Tuning features also save
that's a really good
time.
point to make that probably isn't being emphasized, is that you're also saving the shop time, being able to tune the bow. It's way easier.
Yeah, I mean, if it takes a tech 20 minutes or 5 minutes or 20 minutes or 10 minutes, like that time is valuable.
And I massacred them on tunability. Like, I really did. And I every time I did it, I tried to preface, I'm like saying, I'm not saying you can't tune this bow, so understand that. The category of tunability is how user-friendly the manufacturer is making the tuning process for the shop or the consumer. That's what it's for. And they're not doing that at all. Like, at all. It's the same spacer, limited options on spacers. Their new yoke system is free-floating, so twisting one side or the other won't change a thing. It's not going to help you in that regard. They're still trying to operate in the world where we're going to try to pretend like you really don't need to move your wheel lean. They are. Like, that's like from like Tricon era forward. If you go back to like the Hoyt Tricon and before, they literally would just tell you to move your rest. Just move your rest, it's fine. And not emphasize that if you move your wheels instead of your rest, you don't have to move your rest, and the arrow leaves the riser in the center of the riser like it should. And it's almost every other bow manufacturer is doing that now. Like, they're really, really behind in this. So, I mean, as you're going forward, if 3 years from now, I don't know who's not going to have something. Like, it is getting addressed as an important feature, and I believe heavily it's an important feature, which is why it's one of the 3 categories on my list that rank the highest for points. Like, are you working on the tunability of your product to make it easier to tune? No? Then you're losing a whole bunch of points. I mean, but that's just reality. Like, they're like, in my opinion, they're crushing like everything else. They're making a phenomenal product that they're completely ignoring the tunability. You know, so did Matthews this last year. Phenomenal product, kind of ignoring tunability. So, you know,
which is why the MFJJ space
came
out to help supplement that.
It's
But
not
that's not a better
yeah.
system than getting out the
Yeah,
Allen
it's not a
wrench and
better
going
system.
crank,
If you're not
crank.
creating something that you can drive, gear, or shift with a wrench, you got a problem, in my opinion. Or gear like the timing thing with Darton, where you don't really need a wrench, but it's threaded.
Yeah.
Like you can shift it, right?
Yeah.
If you can give it a little tweaky to get out whatever's needing to get out
Yep.
and make it easier on the consumer, it's a no-brainer. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I believe that sales are being affected by those who do it and those that don't. I really do. What percentage? I'm not sure. But I can tell
hard
you
to
as
know.
a shop, if you know one bow is going to be like way easier to tune than the other, you're more likely to sell it and recommend it because it's less work for you.
I've had a couple engineering types reach out to me and say that they felt because the way the Darton tuning system works, because there's pressure on the threads that they're not going to move. They felt pretty strongly that that was the case. And that might be true. I do think there's an iteration where it could be just a little more
A click would be
or
freaking cool. It really would. It'd be neat to see that.
would
Just a
be-
little
yeah,
driver,
like a
yeah.
scope or
Give it two
or a
clicks.
driver on your target.
Boom. Okay. Well,
Clack, clack.
Well,
Now, how
it,
cool would
it
that
would
be?
be way easier
Yeah.
because as you make your adjustments, if you give it 2 clicks and you go, "Oh, that moved it about a quarter of what I needed." Well, I need 6 clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But boom. Oh, easy.
Reminds me
Well,
of a rifle
God,
scope
you'd
or
think,
something.
but and we're talking
Yeah.
about $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 bows. The money's not the problem. Like if it makes that bow cost $30 more, it's not going to change a damn thing in the cost of. I mean, the product's going to be $50 more or $60 more or whatever, and no one's going to care. I get it if you're like, we're $7.99 and that's where all bows are sold at, so we can't add this feature that costs $20 more, or we're going to get out of our price point. If you're seriously looking at $1,400 or $1,500 and thinking you need to not be above that, you're really not. You're missing the whole boat. The price doesn't matter at this point, other than when you exceed $2,000. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I do. You shouldn't be that much. I hate to do that.
I think additionally, one thing this bow did right is quarter-inch draw length
Yeah.
adjustments. I think there are ways to work around that. They're kind of workarounds, but just to be able to go in, adjust it a quarter an inch, maybe shoot 50 to 100 arrows, see, did I improve my groups or do I feel better with my shot process? Being able to click that back and forth quarter inch at a time,
I
I
agree.
think is
It
huge.
is great.
I hope it's one of those things 3 years from now that we see on all bows too. A little bit of let-off adjustment, which is good, 75, 80, 85. Not every bow does that. That's a good thing. That's another one of those things where if you got some time in the off-season, you want to find out where you shoot better, you might shoot better at 85 than 75 or, you
Yeah, I
don't
do
know
really
till you
like
try
that
it.
that's all integrated into that. That's a really sweet system.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to see other ones incorporating those things because that is one thing that kind of sucks about Matthews and the way they do their system is it's over 200 modules, different modules to achieve all the different sizing. That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Where this is just 5. Like 5 covers the whole gamut of your length and a lot of versatility
nice.
within that. And they're offering quarter inches where Matthews is only offering half inches. That doesn't mean I want Matthews to make half inch or quarter inch increments because that's another 200 modules. Please don't do that. But yeah, it is an advantage that Hoyt's offering over Matthews, in my opinion. And so, like I said, you're disappointed that there's not new innovation. I'm appreciative that they paid attention to what they were missing, that is out there.
Yeah, usually I'm the optimist.
Well,
and
there
the
is that.
pessimist.
But yeah, it's I'd be shocked. I actually expected them to change that riser, and they didn't. But they ended up with a completely different platform of bow because they changed the limbs and the cam so much. So in a way, you are changing the bow pretty significantly. Like they're an inch-ish shorter on every configuration this year than they were last year because of the shorter limbs and bending them over harder and the new aggressive cams.
Well, this is the same grip they've used the last few years, right? Same grip. You rip this grip off, it feels pretty good underneath. That was how I used to shoot my Hoyt, and I think I might add a little tape to that, and it felt pretty good. What options does a person have that come to the top of brain as far as grip options?
For Hoyt,
Yeah.
Ultra V makes a Hoyt grip. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, Ultra V
I'm
does.
sure there's some aftermarkets out there, but the reason that you don't see a lot of aftermarket options is because the grip that comes on it isn't terrible. Like it's actually a pretty decent grip, and you can get a 2-piece grip from them, and you can get plates,
right?
and they're just nice. And Matthews notoriously has a lot of people that don't like their grip. So that's part of why there's so many grip options for a Matthews, is because it's widely viewed that the people don't like it, right? Like a decent amount of people really like that grip, but it's a more controversial or polarizing grip. Like I bet you half of the people that have a Matthews don't like the grip. I bet you 10% of people that have a Hoyt don't like the grip. Like they like that grip. So hopefully that's something that Matthews addresses at some point in the future of different grip options themselves. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, nobody's probably going to design a grip better for their bow than the manufacturer of the bow. But Hoyt really does a good job on their grip. If I was going to leave a stock grip that isn't like machined aluminum on a bow out of all the ones out there, it'd be that one. That grip's actually pretty darn good. But I still would take it off and shoot the side plates because I want to feel that edge of the handle. But it's really well designed, so that's why you don't see a lot of them. Like I said, Ultraview does make one, and it's similar to that, but it's squared. It comes up the back. And I'm sure Shrewd probably makes one, but I doubt either of them sell very many of them because the Hoyt grips aren't terrible. They're not nearly as polarized as opposed to like a lot of people don't like Matthews grip.
That's a good word for it. Yeah. Well, it's an exciting time of year. We are 90% of the way through
Yeah,
boat
I mean,
launch.
I've got Matthews next week, and then Prime and Bowtech. Bowtech hasn't launched yet.
Bowtech's going to be very similar to Matthew's date, right?
I just
The
got an
date
email
of.
that said they might be pushing it back, so I got to check. So it's possible Bowtech might not even launch till the trade show in January, which is shocking. That's shocking.
Well, yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. How do you think it's going? How do you think the whole launch from just a
I think
across
I'm
the
seeing
industry?
improvements across the board. The Darton thing actually really excited me a lot because that was very innovative and very simple. And hopefully seeing things like that, whenever somebody like reinvents the wheel, so to speak, right? Which is kind of what they did. They kind of reinvented the idea of how tunability can be in a bow. And especially when it's a smaller brand, the other bigger brands look at that and go, oh, I didn't think of that. How do I think differently about how to approach this? And then that's really cool. Because then hopefully, if you get enough of these brands doing it, you'll have everybody doing it. So PSE really hasn't addressed it. Matthews hasn't really addressed it. And Hoyt hasn't really addressed it. But in general, you've got Bowtech addressing it 5, 6, 7 years ago. Like they've really addressed it. They're
first,
really the
right?
first to really address that. Well,
First solid system.
I'm trying to remember when PSE's first, because PSE made a limb pocket pivoter system, and I can't remember if that was before. I think that was after Bowtech, but it was the next thing that we ever saw. And then Elite kind of took that technology and tried to figure out how to make it different and incorporate it to their bow. And then they were really the next second one because PSE abandoned that altogether. And I think they couldn't keep it still. I think it kept shifting on them. I think that's why they abandoned it. But PSE moved away from that. Elite picked it up and went that direction. And now, and then we got Darton, like giving you timing, giving you wheel lean, very easy, user friendly. I could be missing some other ones, but so now we've got 3 brands that are really actually giving you the versatility of that. And Bowtech went back and added timing adjustments in there, which is cool. And like I said, we haven't seen all the launches. We haven't seen Matthews. We haven't seen Prime. We haven't seen Bowtech. Which Bowtech already offers these things, right? So you can't really put Bowtech in as coming with a new timing or wheeling system. But we haven't seen Matthews. We haven't seen Prime. So there could be more. Like you could start to see more of a shift. But one of the companies that also did that was a little hasty and got sued and closed their doors. So, and that's one less bow company to compare to. So we didn't see Bear do anything. We didn't see PSE do anything in that regard. Elite already does stuff, but they don't do timing. Hoyt didn't do anything. So there's still, a pretty significant amount thus far that haven't done anything like that. And the beauty of this is as other brands jump on board with these sort of things, and if they don't have a great year financially, right? If they look at how many bows they sold, well, we're down 20%. That whole room's going to go, why? Right? The room of people that make decisions is going to go, why are we down? And then somebody in the back of the room is going to go, well, so-and-so did this, or so-and-so did that, or so-and-so did that, so maybe that's why we're not. So even if Darton doesn't take a good share, or even if one of the other bow companies that's still coming out offers something and they don't take a good share, if the other bow brand X is down, they're going to wonder if that's why. And then they'll be like, maybe we need to address this. Because I'm willing to bet they've all had conversations about how do we address this. Period. And smart engineers are in the back of the room going, it's not as reliable, or this is stupid, or blah, blah, blah. But they're not marketing people, and they're not in sales. So marketing people and sales help try to push engineers to make changes. So you're like, well, we're losing market share here, we're losing market share there, and this is why we think we're losing market share. So the more brands that jump on board with this stuff, the more likely we are to see everybody do it, which is cool, because I want to see everybody make something that is universally easy to tune and adjust. So this whole philosophy of, well, you need to have just the pro shop touch your bow, and you got to find a really good one, and that's the only way your bow is going to work good, needs to go away.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, you need to be able to identify these things and see these things. And you can buy a paper tuner for, I mean, you can make your own paper tuner for next to nothing, but if you don't want to make one, you can buy a paper tuner for like $75, $80 that you can universally put almost anywhere and take it down and remove it from somewhere else to paper tune at home. And some of the systems that are coming out don't even require a bow press to be able to make adjustments. So if they don't require a bow press, you can tune your own bow. There's no argument of, well, I don't want to spend $400 to buy a bow press, which honestly is not that much money when it comes to working on stuff. But like, that eliminates your need to do that. So I want you guys to do it yourself. Doesn't mean you're not going to use the pro shop anymore. And I know pro shops get scared of that. But if you're confident in your ability to adjust it, you're going to gain more confidence in your gear and your equipment, and you're less likely to think that there's something wrong with it as opposed to, oh, this is what's wrong with it and I fixed it, or I learned how to fix it. And there'll be enough self-help videos out there, because I'll do my best to put a bunch of them out, explaining how to adjust those things so you don't feel scared. And I'm so excited to see what this looks like 3 years from now. One, I think everybody is going to embrace it and accept it. And two, I'm going to have enough information out there that anybody's going to be able to do anything to their bow with a guide of how to do it. And then what happens to our industry?
Do you like to do it yourself? Do you know that's wrong?
Yeah, what is that? I know. Oh, it's coming to me. Hang on. Don't ruin it.
You'll know.
Oh, yes, that's from 40-Year-Old Virgin. When he just said, just answer every question she asks with a question. It's like, oh my God, that worked incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think there's the make me call it narrow-minded fear that if the customer can do it, they're not going to need us.
Right.
And that might be true for that thing, but that customer is still going to need you. They're just going to need you for different things. Like, for example, Josh, you've gotten to see a lot of your friends over the last 10 years, or people that like to shoot their bows. You've gotten to see a lot of them make the transition to working on stuff themselves. Do you see them less?
No, not at all.
Maybe you see them more. Because they have an obsession with the thing.
You're allowing them to become more obsessed with the sport. And when they become more obsessed with the sport, they get better at the sport generally, right? They develop a bit of greater knowledge for the sport. They turn around and get more people in the sport. That is the point.
Yes.
If they understand how to work on it, they're more likely to get their neighbors involved, their kids involved, their buddies involved, their coworkers involved, and we have more people in the sport. But if you try to keep this as like some hidden little pay no attention to the man behind the curtain crap, you're hindering the ability of the growth. Wake up. Like, teach people how to do this shit. It's not it's such a closed-minded thought. It's a famine mentality. I relate it back to personally to what Rogan used to talk about, how the comedy scene used to be, is that they would cutthroat and try to destroy each other because they felt like there was only so much available because the only portal was television. And there was only so many channels and so many networks and so many options, right? But once you unleashed the internet on people, there's an infinite amount of opportunity. And now it's, what negative do I have to not help the next guy? We have to stop thinking like there's only so much. We have to start embracing that the more we educate and the more we teach and the more they learn, the more there's going to be. Period. And for every person that you get in the sport that gets passionate about it, there is a great likelihood that somewhere between the amount of 10 to 20 people that don't hunt will understand why he's hunting and agree with it. They might say it's not for them, and that's fine, but they're way less likely to vote against their buddy John, who embraced bow hunting as a passion of his life, that lives his life that way, and it tries to educate other people around him about it. But if John can't get educated about it, how is John ever going to educate other people? So, people look at it from the standpoint of, well, you're never going to get enough people in the sport for it to matter. Right? That's the argument I've gotten from people that are in the sport that get pissy about the number of people they see hunting that they're competing against. Yeah. And they'll tell you that you'll never get enough in there that matter. It's like, yeah, but let's take you, for example. How many people do you talk about how you're passionate about the sport to? Well, a lot. And do they hunt? No. But do you think they would vote against you when it came down to legislation about hunting? Probably not. That's the point. Yeah. Every one person is a drastic amount. And we need all of them to have a future in hunting, which is what I strive for. I want everybody to be able to bow hunt in the future. Furthermore, I want everybody to be able to rifle hunt in the future, because hunting is a universal group that should be embraced by everybody. And every bow hunter that I meet that I have a more serious conversation about bitches about crossbow people. Shut your mouth. They are another group of hunters that want to hunt. And you need to start treating crossbow people. And this goes out to Brandon McDonald. Yeah, this is you, buddy. Hope you're listening. You need to embrace crossbow people. And I get that they're frustrated that these guys get a hunt and archery season in some states, and a lot of states actually. And my buddy Ray Bunny, who I guarantee he doesn't listen to this, but he said the same thing. It's like, crossbow people are poachers. I'm like, because I get why you would look at it that way, because it is an ideal poaching weapon, right? If you're going to break laws and shoot things in the dark and shit like that, it's really easy to use. But the reality of that is that's an entire group of hunters that are embracing the lifestyle that you're embracing or trying to. They're just intimidated by your weapon. So my hope going forward, they don't have a crossbow season in this state, right? And if they change that, great. I'd love to see, because a lot of crossbows are getting bought in places that sell guns. I would love to see archery shops where there is crossbow hunting, and they may already be there, I don't know, but embrace crossbow people into your business. Get them in your store instead of somebody else's store, so you can at least educate them more about archery. And there's a great chance that guy who bought a crossbow might end up shooting archery in bow and arrow, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if that conversion happens very often.
Well, I think the largest thing, and I've chalked it up too, because we carried crossbows and a good amount of them for a long time. We still never sold any, but the chain stores would sell a ton of them. It's like, because the guy bought a gun from the chain store, and when he goes back to buy a crossbow, he goes back to where he bought his gun from to look for one. So hopefully we can educate the public, and I'm going to start, even though we don't carry crossbows or sell crossbows, might start putting them on the website, but I am going to go through and test crossbows like I test compound bows and add that to my repertoire. Because one, at least you're getting a uniform metric measurement, right? So you can compare A to B to C to D to E to F to G. There's a large community of people that want to shoot crossbows, so I'm sure they'll get pretty good views, but it'll hopefully get archery people looking at crossbow people and crossbow people looking at archery people and say, hey, maybe there's a correlation here that I'm not paying attention to and I should. Because at the end of the day, we're all bow hunters. We're all hunters. I honestly, you should say bow hunters, because it is a bow. It's a different bow. It doesn't function the same way, and it probably doesn't take as much practice to be good with. And that's really, I think, where the rub is. But the way Brandon McDonald, you're listening, buddy, you're treating crossbow people is the way traditional people would treat you.
Mm-hmm.
Are they right?
It's true.
It's an evolutionary
change.
No, they're not. So neither are you. Love you, buddy.
One thing that's definitely a positive is it enables some people who physically can't bow hunt. My dad fell into that category.
Right.
He had a bum wing, and he was able to come on an elk hunt with me because he got like an exception to use a crossbow in a state, which is pretty cool. Now, to me, the fundamental difference, one of the fundamental difference, you talked about the rub, is the moment of truth when you have a bow versus a crossbow. A bow you have to get drawn back. And that changes the dynamic of the hunt, having to do that action or not. Now, in some states, you can just hunt in the same season. I don't know what the right answer is, if it's to enable them to hunt in the same season, or maybe it's like a muzzle loader and a gun.
Yeah.
You know, maybe the crossbow gets Maybe the crossbow gets 7 days and the bow
So
gets 30
the
days.
argument that BMAC was making, and I think it's a valid one, is maybe they should hunt when muzzleloaders hunt. And he had a great idea for a YouTube video that I think I'm going to do that I'll tell you about later. I think it's a really good idea. But he was emphasizing that should be when muzzleloader's going on, because it is definitely an easier to use weapon. Like if you compared a bow to a muzzleloader, which one's easier to use? Well, muzzleloader's easier to use. The average guy cannot shoot that thing a lot and go out and hit something with it. Where if you're going to shoot any kind of a distance with a bow, you do have to practice. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
So a discipline that doesn't really require practice to be relatively proficient versus one that does probably shouldn't get the same time. And a crossbow does not require a lot of shooting to be proficient with it.
Like, I wouldn't be opposed on a personal level if somebody said, we wanted to expand the season of bow season for traditional archers.
Oh, yeah.
I would be like,
Idaho
I would be
has
like, okay,
a
that's
unit in an area where they have a traditional only season.
I think
Yeah,
Oregon
that's
does
fine.
too.
I don't see. I think they should have their own season. Maybe it overlaps between, compound and muzzleloader or something,
Or it's an expansion, because it is.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Your effective range is different. You never heard of a traditional hunter shooting something at 80 or 100 yards. Or if you did, they shot a lot of arrows before
I
that
don't
thing
think you ever heard that. Stick shooters don't shoot that far.
Even Ted, Uncle
He's
Ted.
not a stick shooter. Uncle Ted shoots a. No,
He's never
he
a
shoots
stick
compound.
shooter?
He doesn't
Not even
put
back
stuff
in the
on
day?
it, but he's a compound guy. Tim
What
Wells
about
is a
Tim Wells,
compound
the
guy.
Slockmaster?
A sight free.
Well, he shoots everything.
Okay, but maybe I've never seen him shoot.
Did you see the Slockmaster slocked a moose with a spear?
Oh God, that guy.
What a crazy wild bastard.
The what master? Slock.
The Slockmaster. Yeah, that's what he calls himself.
Oh,
Tim
I
Wells,
don't
the
watch Wells.
Slockmaster.
I did watch Wells's original video. I can't remember what it was called. Like back when there were DVDs and stuff and not virtual.
Yeah.
And that guy did blow me away.
Well, the Slockmaster slocked a moose in Alaska with a harpoon or a spear. He threw it once, and his arm hit a branch, and it didn't have the inertia to get in there. And then that bull stopped, and he threw it again. And when it hit, it looked like it. I wasn't sure it had enough penetration to hit the heart, but it got in far enough. Like it seemed like it was just far enough to hit the heart, and that moose.
So
passed.
So on that
Slockmaster
note,
slocked a moose
that's
with
an
a
incredible
spoon, with a
thing.
spear.
So on the trip that I took recently, I went to a college in Texas where they've been testing medieval tools and trying to measure how much energy they have. More to come on that. But one of the interesting things that I learned from that is they were playing with atlatls, and the amount of the things that they throw out of an atlatl are called a dart. And the weight of a dart, like how much energy, if you made it heavy enough, how much penetrating power it had was asinine. It's like because you're throwing it with
effective.
an arm, right? As you make it heavier, you can throw harder, right? Because it's like throwing like a light rock and a heavy rock. You can kind of put more behind the heavier rock, right? It's the same thing with a dart. So and they were getting like insane amounts of penetration with like a 6,000 grain dart. Like it was wild. So I could see like him throwing a spear that's heavy and chucking it, that it could very functionally penetrate a long ways when you start to get like excessively heavy. And I imagine his spear was probably heavier than 6,000 grains.
Yeah, well, he's a crazy wild bastard, and I think he's slocked a few things with a spear now. But longtime archery advocate as well. Interesting dude. Been in the media game for a long time. I think he's got over a million subscribers on YouTube.
Wild man.
And if you ask some people, they might not even know about him. So it's like it's an interesting. I think he's appealing to an interesting audience because if you asked, I don't know, if you asked 50 people in the shop if they knew of him, how many might?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably not a lot.
Yeah. Like you haven't.
I haven't
watched.
watched. I know
Hunts,
exactly who he is though. I watched him shoot a
his
freaking
hunts when they
grizzly
come
bear
up,
in the
'cause
eye
I
with
think-
an arrow and drop it like a stone.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
There's no way he meant to do that. Like that had to be an accident.
Like he's got me tuned in for two reasons. He's a talented storyteller for sure. As I see other people around the industry, he's a talented storyteller and he's a crazy wild bastard. And when I see one of his YouTube thumbnails and he's doing something cool, I'm watching what's going on.
Yeah, you do get pulled in by the tubes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're more of a tuber than me, but I'm getting there. Trying to pay attention.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think that's the pod, sir.
Yeah. We have a banger next week. Banger Pod. So subscribe. Please be subscribed. Your Christmas present to us, whether it's Christmas yet or not, is to subscribe to the channel. Because we need to get to 10,000 subscribers before Christmas. That's a must, not a should.
Where are we at? Let me check where we're at exactly so I can pass on to
But
the
we're not
fans
there.
here. Hang on.
Yeah, we're not there.
And how do
have
we
a Banger
not?
Pod
That's like
coming up.
redonkulous.
And if you're subscribed, it'll just let you know that
9,626.
it's free to do. Free to do. Yeah, or leave it a review. That stuff helps. And yeah, we appreciate you guys. If you're hunting hard. Next week is the Matthews drop.
Yes'm.
Confirm that. And we'll be able to talk about Matthews. Are they going to blow our dicks off?
I signed an NDA. I can't say anything.
TBD. TBD. Potentially dicks blown off.
All right.
So you want to be subscribed to that.
I believe most people will be pretty amazed, but we'll see.
Will they be amazed or dicks blown off?
I would hope that we need to reproduce. I hope not dicks blown off. Yeah. Elon says we're declining.
Right.
We need to get out there and have kids.
Yeah.
Go put a baby in her
practice doing
boys.
that. Go practice.
Practice for the big game. Practicing for the big game.